Hi, and welcome to this episode of our podcast. And we're here with the crew for You Follow Me. Hello, guys. Welcome. Please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you.
My name is Samantha Simone, but you can call me Sam. I am one of the producers as well as one of the lead actors on the series. We came up with this series a while ago, and it's all about invisible illnesses because invisible illnesses do not get enough coverage in this medium. So thought we should bring it to the forefront.
I'm Kate Falk, and I play Becca, one of the other co-leads in the project. And yes, Sam came to me with this project because she and I have had a journey together with some chronic health. And like her, I thought that this was a really good project to bring out to the public. A lot of people have invisible illnesses, chronic health issues, and it's not something that's really talked about a lot. So it made me really excited to join this project.
I'm Will Ormsby Carey. My friends just call me Will. My parents call me William. I played Paul in You Follow Me. It was my first time playing a disease, and I think it went well, personally. No, whole shoot was a really, really fun experience. I'm an actor slash filmmaker located currently in Bushwick, Brooklyn. And I'm so excited to be here today.
Hi, my name is Ryan McGilloway. I was a producer and the director of You Follow Me. Sam and I have been working together since we were young teenagers. And when she approached me in 2020 about making something about chronic health, it felt like the right project for me. There's a lot of folks in our lives who have various chronic illnesses, and to approach the subject in a light way that could open up a conversation felt like a really important project to get on the map. So I'm really excited to be here.
Hello, my name is Drew Michael Gardner. I play the other disease. I play Hal. I loved working on this project with these guys. I'm an actor myself, and I am located right now in New Jersey, just a hop, skip, and a jump away from NYC. And when I'm not acting, you can find me running around New York City, doing different events and marketing and live events for health and wellness. So if I see you in NYC, I'll be saying hello. So
Max?
Hey everybody, I'm Max Mundy, go by Max. And I've actually known Sam for quite a bit before starting to work on this project. We went to grad school together at Columbia. I've mainly in my career have been a playwright, and this has actually been my first sort of foray into the film world. And Sam has been a guiding light in that this whole time. And Sam, yeah, actually approached me with this idea and wanting to do a show about invisible illnesses and how could we make this work. And just really gave me carte blanche to really run wild with it. And I'm really excited where we landed on it.
I am playing Ike in this, and I actually got to be a part of it. Sam is one of the people. She brought me in to do the project and everything, and honestly, it was just because the project seemed like it was so creative and different. Plus, it had a purpose behind it, and so it's not too often you get a project that has a purpose behind it. It's good, and
fun.
the people too. Yeah, exactly.
That's great.
Yeah.
What made everybody want to be a filmmaker? We can start the other way around. We'll start with you, Isaiah.
Wow. I always liked movies and film and TV, anything like on camera and stuff like that. And I kind of fell backwards into it. I started off as a musician, and it sort of segued into, being an actor, and I loved it just as much. So stuck with it.
What actually has been really appealing to me actually is to be honest, is how hard it is. And I say that more from like for me personally, from a writing standpoint, honestly. As I said before, I've been mainly working in theater and playwriting for a long time, and kind of having to grasp sort of the tenets and the function of screenwriting is actually just a totally different animal and beast. And so I've really loved sort of being able to learn how to flex those muscles.
I have been performing for a really long time in theater, and once I graduated from college in musical theater, I really wanted to explore what else was out there. And to be honest with you, it is projects like this that have made me fall in love with film and continue my want to be in film. It's because of the subject, but it's also because of the camaraderie that I found within theater. Um, the environment of just having a group of people work on a problem creatively and solve it together. And when you do it with kindness and love, like this group has gone above and beyond to do, it just makes the experience much easier and much more enjoyable. And hopefully that translates to the audience as well.
I think originally I just really was excited about the ability to tell stories with people. And then as those people became like some of the closest folks in my life, it was, I don't know, you just can't really do anything else. If there's a feeling about being on set, telling a story together that's like very, I don't know, like primal around the campfire, where like you're with people that share, like Drew said, that share this love and support, and you're working together to create something you're very passionate about. It's a drug, man. You just want to keep coming back and doing it. And so that's what got me in and keeps me going.
You know, I think my first interest in filmmaking was probably when I was a kid and I saw School of Rock. And that's just as good as anything can get. And that was sort of from a young point, seeing something like that was like, oh, how do I get involved in any of this? Which led to, doing plays in middle school and then high school. And then I went to NYU to study acting. And I think what excites me so much about filmmaking is it's always, it's very quick, creative problem solving in a unit, which is such a exciting creative environment to immerse in. And then I think what's attracted to me to it more and more, as opposed to something like theater, is that you actually do create something with a permanence to it that you can actually have years down the line. I think the ephemeral nature of theater, of sort of performing and letting it go, there's a lot of beautiful things about that. And there's certainly a lot of theater performances I'm glad don't exist anymore. But I don't know, the older I get, the more excited I am to, like, I don't know, we created something here that's very special. And in 10 years, we'll be able to sit down and watch that again. And I think, I don't know, to create a permanent memory of time is powerful and exciting, thrilling.
So this is my first time actually being part of the making aspect of a project. I was very much just an actor, like just tell me where to stand and give me the lines and I will emote and do my thing. I didn't really want to be behind the scenes too much. But I think what Drew said about working with a collaborative group of people who are very passionate is what drew me to working more behind the scenes on this project. And it's kind of spoiled me doing this with anybody else, because now the bar is set so high of how I expect to work with a group of people behind the scenes, because everyone here was so passionate and kind and open-minded that, yeah, I don't know that I'll be able to work. It'll be, hopefully I can find more people that are like this group of people. Otherwise, I don't know.
How long have you been acting, Kate?
Probably since, I'm not going to try and do the math. I'm just going to say 14. I'll just say 14. I'm an actor. I don't do math.
Okay. Samantha.
Yes, so I also started off as an actor, but unlike getting my start in theater, I actually started in TV and film. I was living in the UK at the time and booked a pilot show on the BBC at the age of 10 years old. So I legitimately fell in love with being on set from being on set. And then kind of backtracked. I went to theater school and did all of it in reverse. And then upon graduating from Columbia with my MFA, I booked Blue Bloods, which put me back on set and just re-sparked that love of being on set. You Follow Me was my first stab at producing, and I absolutely loved everyone who was a part of this project because everyone met me with such kindness and respect and vulnerability, especially around this type of subject matter, that we all took really good care of getting our message out. And I think similar to Will, with the permanence that TV and film offers, I just love the conversations it sparks. And anyone who I tell about this project, they're like, oh my gosh, I have, my mom has an invisible illness and like, this is such a good story and needs to get out there. How can I help you? Like it has such a nice connection and communication aspect to it that, at least for me, has changed a lot since COVID, and, not being in the room as much. So really love the conversation.
Great. All right. My next question is friends and family. When everybody said, I'm going to do this for a living, like when you're 10 years old and you're acting, your family goes, okay, they're acting. So what? What was the final feeling? And you go in any order you want. About, what your friends and family say.
It was very supportive. I was definitely like making videos, with my folks, like camcorder since I was 5, shooting my own Power Rangers morphing sequences and like having a good time there. So it wasn't a surprise when I joined the TV studio in high school and then I wanted to go into TV in college. I started college in 2011, and that was like just at this like dawn of every company's gonna need video. So actually my parents were super supportive. They were like quite kind of the opposite. They were like, I think you're getting into a field that is probably at the forefront of it's the smallest that ever will be and it's only going to get bigger. So I received a ton of support from my folks as I like went ahead and tried to make videos for a very, whether it was like a passion project, anything, or a freelance commercial, whatever it was. They were like very supportive the whole way through, and still are. I have supportive folks and kind of a good support group all around me, these folks included.
I grew up luckily being surrounded by people who did not grow up with theater or did not do it themselves or act or anything remotely outwardly creative, but they were great parents who stuck by someone, their child who saw that this is what they have chosen and what chose them. I will say growing up being a creative person, your parents definitely will look at you at one point and be like, hey, sweetie, we love that you're creative, but get it together, which is kind of like where I'm at now. So my inner child is doing some like healing right now from all of that, but very much still supported. And your friends and your family are always going to be, hopefully at reach, but in this industry, or in this life, God willing, you've got to be your strongest advocate, and really be secure with who you are as a person. And it's a journey, like all things, Luckily, we get to be on this earth every day, so we get to choose how we see it. So, I luckily have support, but that also doesn't come without saying that you've got to keep supporting yourself and stay mentally in the game. And even when you feel down, you just gotta like look inside and be like, hello, I'm still that bee who got me from little me to big me. So, you know, support is everywhere, especially as an artist. You go into your community and you need some reassurance or some love. Just see what's happening around your hometowns or your cities. It's all good. We're all here on the same sphere to help each other. So support is everywhere.
My family was also incredibly supportive and not surprised in the slightest. My mom tells a story that I did my first play in middle school, It's a Wonderful Life, and my mom tells a story that after the show ended, the audience is applauding. The curtain came down, and the audience was still applauding. So I literally stuck my head out through the curtain because I was still being applauded, just to like see people applaud for me. So I've had something in me that likes to do things in a public way, from the birth, for sure. And it was very sweet actually when it kind of went from being, something I liked to do as a kid to something I wanted to pursue seriously. My dad said he said you can do whatever you want, but you have to learn how to be good at it. You have to learn how to do it right. And that was why it went from like, as soon as it was serious coming for me, I'm going to be an actor. It was like, okay, what are the programs? How do we study this? And how do we make moves on that? And I'm incredibly grateful for that, because the foundation of everything that I've been able to do has been really laid by him in that moment in a major way.
My parents probably were not, by the time that I started acting, they weren't surprised by my decision to like go rogue. But they between them, they never said anything, disparaging to me or whatever. They just be like, oh, that's nice. Okay. I see you on starting off doing background and stuff like that, and then actually then auditioning, getting roles and stuff like that. But I think the biggest support that I've gotten, it's been from other actors. I've run into some incredible people, like especially people here. And that's been like a bigger support system than anything else, honestly.
I think like everyone's saying here, my family and especially my parents were very, very supportive. And I think part of that was though, is that I didn't really start doing theater or any sort of art until I was about like 20, until like I was like halfway through college. And so I think my family was just very excited. I just picked something to do. Until I was 20, I was very disinterested. And so if I didn't find art, I probably would have done something preposterous, like become like a philosophy teacher or something. So I think they were just psyched I like found something. And and they've been to every show since.
My biggest support probably came from my grandfather. He passed away a few years ago, but my grandfather was a professional musician and teacher of music, and he just like got who I was at my core. So because of him being an artist, my dad, when I said that I wanted to be an actor, he was like, cool, like wasn't surprised because it was in the bloodline for sure, but he saw his dad struggle sometimes, and as artists we don't always know where our next paycheck is coming from. So he was extremely supportive, but also like very practical with all of that. So in college I actually double majored with acting and education, and now I'm a college professor as well as an actor, so I teach on-camera acting. My dad's super stoked about that because that's a regular paycheck. My mom is very, very supportive. Anytime I book anything, I think the whole family knows before I've even signed the contract. So she's stoked. So everyone's been pretty supportive, and all of my friends I think were involved in this project. If you're not looking at them, they were behind the scenes, building props and helping out with makeup and all that. So I've got a really great community around me.
Great. Okay.
To sound like a broken record, I mean, my parents were incredibly supportive when I said that this is what I wanted to do. So was my brother, and I had a great community of friends in drama school when I was in school, but also I had friends who weren't actors, which I do think is very important. If you want to become an actor, you need to have friends who are not in this business so that you can just have a break from all of that drama that goes on in drama school. But there was never any sort of like, don't you want to do something else with your life? I think it's kind of like what Drew said. My parents were very much like, this is, as far as we know, the only life we get, so you might as well as go for it, try something out, and then if things don't work out, well, at least you tried. I won't have any regrets that this is what I tried to do.
I think I was going to say, do you have a support group of filmmakers? Obviously.
We do.
Yes, obviously. And then the next question was, what made you decide to make this film? But you pretty much discussed that also. I don't know if you can talk about it more if you're up for it, or up to you guys. So
sure.
Samantha, you shook your head yes, so go for it.
Yeah. So the idea for this project came from like a very personal health journey, but I'm like super open about it, so whatever. I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis and psoriatic arthritis at the age of 18, but my diagnosis shifted, and I took, probably every drug under the sun that could possibly help until I was 25. Had a really awful flare-up and went to go see an internal medicine doctor who just told me to change my diet, cut out gluten and dairy, and make some supplement changes. And I've now been in remission for 3 years.
Nice.
But
Good.
during my journey with all of that, I would, I visibly don't look like I have anything going on. So when I would cancel plans short notice, or, be going through extreme fatigue or a really bad flare up and I'd have to dip out from things, I was always met with like, are you serious? You look fine. Like, what are you talking about? You're sick. And I was like, okay, cool. I can't really explain to you that like my 100% feels like 25% today for probably like the average person. Or like I'm so swollen in my knees, my jeans don't fit right now. Like it was, just different things that people may not have seen from the outside. So I was like, well, how can we talk about these invisible illnesses, because they are so prevalent, and I know so many people in my community who do deal with it, that I was like, we need to give these people a voice too. But I didn't want it to be like a sob story or a woe is me. I wanted it to be funny and quirky, and like I always used to say, like, my RA is kind of like my invisible friend who's like a pain in the butt. Hence the creation of Hal and Paul. And we just wanted to like open up a dialogue about the invisible illness community and world out there, since there are so many people who are always met with like, but you look fine.
Yep. Okay, that makes sense. Anybody else want to jump in there or say anything else?
Yeah, I mean, this was something that was also like incredibly personal for me because I have some issues with chronic health myself. And again, when I met Sam, Sam's not lying. She was very upfront that these were things that she was going through in her life. But it was about a year or so later that I started having some of my own issues with pain, is where mine comes from. I have some chronic pain issues. And they began doing the many rounds of like blood testing that you have to go through, where they check if you have an autoimmune marker, and then you have to go out and get loads more tests done. And she was the first person that I went to when I realized that this was going to be part of my life, because I knew that she had walked this path. Even if it wasn't exactly the same as what I was going through. And I think that's something that, like Sam said, so many people have chronic health issues and they're so varied. So it seemed really important to me to do a project like this. And also because I am someone who, this is about 7 years that I've been going through this, I still don't have a firm diagnosis. And that's actually quite common for people, especially for women who have chronic health issues. So it was important to me to be a part of this and show that part of the journey as well, that it'll be like, yeah, you have some things going wrong. We don't really know what it is, but you do. So to let people know that they're not alone if that's what they're going through.
And I would just like to add, what was really exciting was that then Kate and Sam coming to me and asking me to sort of, how do we like kind of create a story out of all this? And I think, and they were both so super vulnerable and very generous in terms of sharing their experiences of that. And I think one of the things that I remember just learning from researching and learning about these illnesses, I think is something that became sort of an engine for the whole sort of show, is that actually a lot of these diseases are actually organisms in the body that are actively trying to help the body, but by attacking a disease that is not actually there. So it seems very fascinating to me that they actually, many of these illnesses are, to a certain extent, if you personify them, are well-intentioned and yet are actually destroying everything. And I think there's a lot of parallels in that. And I think, especially when we talk about our wider healthcare system, I think there's a lot of people trying to help, but only making things worse. And so kind of where we jump from, I feel like.
Okay, so this is also to everybody. So what was the hardest part and what was the most fun part? I was separating those, but everybody was answering them kind of together. So what was the best and what was the worst?
COVID was the hardest part, I think.
Yeah, that was exactly what I said. COVID was the hard part.
Sam, Max, and I started talking about this movie in February of 2020. Like, seriously, like, hey, I think we're going to start making this soon. Obviously that didn't happen. And so what this project looked like a couple of years before we shot it, and then what it sort of evolved into, were very different. And we used lockdown to really evaluate what story we would want to tell and how we wanted to tell it and what we would do with it when it was done. But that goalpost kept getting moved. 2 weeks became 2 months, became 2 years, and that was super challenging. So the most fun part was like getting to make the thing. Like finally, we shot this in December of 2022, right? Yeah, December of 2022. And it was great. It was my first time back on like an independent set. I've been on sets for my job up to that point, but to be on like back on an indie set, making stuff with people I cared about, especially something we had been talking about and kind of rehearsing for a couple of years, just felt amazing. It was like just this outpouring of love and passion that we had all been kind of bottling up for a couple of years, and it was great to just get out there and make something. And I'm just really grateful to have had that experience, to have been able to come out the other side of lockdown and get on set and make something as wonderful as we did.
I mean, just to like hop in, it was the same thing. It was COVID was the worst part of this. Sam and I started talking about this with Max December of 2019, I think. And I actually had to cancel meeting them in person because I got very sick, like a precursor of what was to come. But that was the hardest part. Sam and I would talk on the phone during COVID, just kind of wondering like what was going to happen. So, and our industry has changed so much because of COVID. So that was without a doubt the worst part of this process. And the best part was getting to be on set. There was this moment like before we started shooting, before I shot my first scene, where it was like, oh wow, I'm here, like we're actually getting to do this. And I'm not always the most like self-reflective when I'm on set because there's usually a bunch of things going on and I'm trying to do my job, but that was a moment where I could step out and go, wow, we made it here. And to just kind of appreciate that I got to be on set about this project that I cared about so much.
Outside of just being on set with them and everything, it's kind of silly, but I like we got to be creative and do the IG takeover thing. So it's like just doing silly like little videos like that. Because of the timing, because it was around, COVID, it was still very much a big thing. It gave me something to do, an outlet to be creative, as did being a part of this, just in general. So yeah, it was a oasis.
Great.
On a personal level, actually, this film came at a really difficult time in my life. My father was diagnosed with terminal cancer in the end of 2019, and actually, the week before we shot, it kind of became apparent to us that we were at the end of the line. And actually, I think he passed away about 3 or 4 days after we wrapped shooting on this film. So I was going through a lot at this moment in time, and I think the best part was really that this whole thing was a bright spot, a hard time, and I was able to talk to him about doing it, and he said you should go out and do it. And he was a man who was very defined by his love for work. He was a labor lawyer, and he meant a lot to him. And I think to be able to do my work, amidst all of that was immensely important, and something I'm very, very grateful for.
Sounds like this has been a great project, besides of whatever it looks like, just the
It was
project
fun.
itself was great. All right, so final product. When you're done with the final product, are you the type of person that sits there and forever goes, oh, I could have done that better. Oh, I could have done that better. Oh, I should redo that one of these days. Or you're the kind of person that sits there and goes, okay, that baby's gone. I'm going to see my mistakes and be better next time, and you move on. Which one are you?
Oh, I'm probably the latter of like, because I didn't edit. Ryan actually did the edit with our other producer, Sean. And I know so little about that aspect that I was like, this looks awesome. You know, like you guys crushed it. Yes.
We would send Sam like a cut for notes, and she'd be like, "This is great," and I'm like, "Sam, you need to tear it apart, please."
I'd be like, I don't know. Or, you know, they would read my notes back and I'd be like, I don't know how to say this, but like the sound in this one section sounds pingy. And they're like, we know what you mean. Great. But I'm also like, because I'm also a teacher as well, like I do like to take everything that I do and learn from it for going forward. I think like what you do in that moment is what's meant to be in that moment. And then, you know, you learn from it and you can only grow and be better from everything. But, you know, that said, I'm very happy with the final product of this. Had I had infinite money, I think our locations, you know, would have been a little easier. My apartment had some like loud car sounds outside and we were dealing with like daylight coming and going. So yeah, it was just more like if I had more money. But Ryan can probably talk more to the edit than I can.
Yeah, sure. I mean, more money is always better, right? But I would say for what we had and compared to the final result, I'm extremely happy with it. We had such a great group of people, not only in pre-production and in production, but in post-production. Our composer and our sound designer and our colorist, like all of these people who we found the best folks, you know, in our network to come together in post as well to work on this thing. And so by the time it was finished, you know, as a director editor, like me and the other producer who edited this thing, like we just looked at it, and I don't think at any point did I think, oh, I need more time on this. Like we had already been working on it by the time we exported it, you know, really since end of 2019, beginning of 2020. Like this has been in our brains for a long time. And so it kind of pieced together like a puzzle. Like we kind of we drew everything out, we shot it, we got it in the edit, it worked. We sent it to the, you know, composer, sound designer, colorist, graphics person who did an amazing job. You know, like all of these people knocked it out of the park. We got those pieces back, we put it together, and it felt right. You know, like sure, if we had a gajillion dollars, it could look better, but I think the film speaks for itself, and it speaks for the people who put love into it, you know, whether they be the actors and where they were in their lives when they made this thing, the producers, Sam, of like, you know, what they brought to this project so personally, or the folks in post, like you can feel a lot of love in this project. And so I didn't, when we hit export, I was never like, ah, man, we missed this opportunity. It felt like it should have. And so I was really proud of it, really proud of the work that people did.
Okay, great. So inside the indie film world, we all know we're not going to buy mansions and private jets and yachts.
I've already got plenty of that, so.
Yeah, right. So what is success in the indie film world? What would each one of you say is success in the indie film?
For me, it's actually always been if I can just figure out a way that for the vast majority of the day, like I do like 9 to 5, if you will, if I could just be doing, teaching, or thinking about art during that time, that's it. That's it. I'm not doing, you know, like the BS admin job where I'm also trying to like write sometimes, but also like doing emails, where I'm not, you know, like having to work a bunch of different jobs, stuff like that. If I could just be doing just art, everything else is superfluous.
For me, I think it's important to create art, you know, humans to create art, not I guess the alternative would be like AI and stuff like that. But I think it's important to create art because we're telling our stories and everything like that, and that is something that it gets passed on, and it outlives us, and it's like almost like a tradition of expression that human beings have and everything. And so creating art of any kind to me is important, just to keep us alive, you know?
I think that having it be a success would be being on a project where you're surrounded by people that are taking care of you, and in return, you know, you are taking care of that project. Because those words mean something, you know, from its first idea to, you know, as Ryan was talking about, even into after everything's been done, getting down to the coloring, like every person plays a role. And when you're creating art that people feel good about it and you're having fun doing it, and that greater goal is to have someone see it and it, touch them. I think you're already in a successful state by creating with that mojo. And these guys really treated, speaking as an actor, who's been doing a lot of different things in a lot of different rooms with a lot of different kinds of people. When people treat you with respect and with care and have, empathy and speak to you in a kind way, your work gets done so much quicker and so much better. And when there's not a lot of ego and when there's not a lot of, the world we live in right now is definitely in a power hungry and power, losing struggle of sorts. So I felt like, success is just where it's like you're doing it for love and like for the love of it. And it was awesome. It was so, so fun.
Yeah, I would say success in the independent film world, it really is about the community you form in doing it. I mean, I only knew Sam and Alex before we did this, and now I know all you beautiful people. But I think that is the real measure of success, is that we're not going to buy yachts based on this project or anything like that. But I think as an actor, you spend so much time trying to get into rooms to do a little crumb of something creative. You spend a lot of time proving yourself and then just being locked out. And that's just how the industry goes. Like, that is what it is. But I think what's so exciting about opportunities like this and what we did with You Follow Me was the ability to find agency as a creative person and to find community as a creative person to come together to do something like this. It's empowering and fulfilling, and that's kind of as good as it gets, except for the millions of dollars that we could be making.
I would trade all of you for millions of dollars.
I would.
See ya. I think I think a lot of people define success in the indie film world differently. And I think what makes this movie so special is like all the answers you're getting here are all kind of flavors of a similar thing. And in fact, all of our answers, we're a bunch of like nerdy theater kids trying to like make stuff together. And I think like the stereotype of the like ooey gooey lovey nerdy theater kid, just sort of like anytime I'm on a set with any of these people, the folks who are new to that set come away thinking like, wow, that was the nicest group of people I've ever met. Like those were I've never, any film I've ever been on, no one's that nice. And I think that's success for me. Like getting to, even though it is rare because, we have to pay the bills, but getting to work on passion projects like this, when they happen, really savoring them and treasuring the moments and the memories you're making and the people that are there to create the thing. Where it goes after that, especially as I get older, it is sometimes secondary. Like if we have high hopes for a project, that's great. But I think just like doing the very human thing of making art with good people is in itself like a very successful thing. And I have to tell myself that often because it's very easy to be sad and think like, man, what am I doing with my life? But then you look at the people that are in this Zoom call and you're like, wow, I am making connections with people that matter and telling stories that we all are really passionate about. And I think that's, that alongside with I can pay my bills is really all I need. I wouldn't trade that for $1 million. Except I would just do it. I would trade all of you away. Yeah, come on. What do I?
You don't have to lie, Ryan. You can just
You can take the million.
Dennis says, here's $1 million. Never talk to these people again. And I am out of here.
Listen, man, we'll cut out all the parts about you talking about how much you love money. Okay.
Good. Okay. I just gotta look good. That success is looking good. That's really it.
Amen, brother.
What was that old TV show with Billy Crystal first started? You look marvelous, and looking marvelous is more important than feeling marvelous.
That's right.
The damn truth.
Hey,
Day one in acting school, that's what they told me.
Just look good.
Samantha, Kate, any final words on that question?
My grandfather said it better than I could. Before he passed away, and like I said, he was an indie musician. I was like, Grandpa, how are you so successful? And he was like, I trusted that I had this much talent. I never took myself too seriously, but I took the work very seriously. So he put his all into everything he did, and he loved what he did every minute of his life. And he was like, that's success for me. And that's kind of been my like mantra and my motto is like, I think in this profession in general, it's you're just so worried about the little things and how you can make your mark. And, you know, as Will said, like just trying to get into someone else's project, but like make your own stuff and like don't take yourself too seriously, because as soon as you do, the more pressure you put on something, the further it gets from you. And you know, if you love what you do and you love the people you do it with, are you really working? I don't think so. So that's been my version of success in this sphere.
Great. And Kate?
Yeah, no, I mean, for sure, what everyone has said is very true. And I know we're talking specifically about independent film, but I think this is true for whether you're working in independent film or theater, or you like have 3 Academy Awards on your shelf. The lie that we've been told is that success is external, and it's not, it's internal. And success can be at the end of the day, like if you just at the end of the day go, yeah, I want to keep being an actor, even though I didn't get to be one today because I had to work my 9-to-5 job, my survival job, then that is success, because you are choosing to be creative at the end of the day to go into the next day. So passion is success, and drive is success, and loving what you do is success. Success is love. And those are the things that are really what success is. And then everything else, you can't control that. It would be nice if we all had Academy Awards on our shelves and millions of dollars and things like that, but we can't control that. And tying our idea of success to that, it will only hurt you in the end. So success is internal.
Okay, great. This was all great, but I have my next ones coming up, and I'm going to have to say thank you, Jeff. Thank you all for being here.